Hey, so I couldn't come up with a good cold open for this video, so with that said, this video is brought to you by my Patreon. The link is in the description. That's it. I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. Let's get into the video. You know, of all the things I've reviewed on this channel, the one series I've always wanted to return to was Kirby. What can I say about Kirby that hasn't already been said before? Lovable pink ball with the ability to suck things up and inherit the enemy's ability, who can also float through the air if need be, and overall, just a cute creature that the world has collectively agreed is a good boyo. God, never let me say that again. With such a simple concept and 32 years worth of games, it's definitely worth noting that Kirby as a character has become a Nintendo staple in his entirety. But it wasn't always this way, as Kirby mainly started out on the Game Boy in 1992 in Kirby's Dream Land, being developed by HAL Laboratory. The project was led by Mushihimesama, who would eventually go on to direct the Smash Bros. Series of games. Though, Kirby's always been weird with releases. You have Kirby's Adventure, which released on the NES in 1993, 2 years after the Super Nintendo dropped. Kirby Dream Land 3, released on the Super Nintendo in 1997, 1 year after the N64 dropped. And Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, released in 2000, and was the last main Kirby game to release on a console until 2011's Return to Dreamland. Not to mention the amount of cancelled Kirby content there is. Like, did you know Air Ride was supposed to release on the N64? Or how about the fact that Return to Dreamland was going to be on the GameCube? How about Kagero Mansion, a cancelled Kirby Superstar sub-game? But among all these things, there was a little boop in the Kirby timeline. No, not that one. There was another game that eventually released on the Wii and would be the first Kirby game to actually release on the Wii, 4 years into the console's lifespan. That's right, I'm talking about Kirby's Epic Yarn, released on October 17th, 2010 for the Wii, better known as the first Kirby console game to release since 2003's Air Ride. That being said, there were still Kirby games released, just not on consoles and more so Nintendo's handheld consoles such as the GBA and DS. To make it absolutely clear, Kirby's Epic Yarn was my first ever Kirby game I remember playing, and one that I hold fond memories of. I remember seeing an ad on TV about Epic Yarn where Kirby can turn into a tank and other cool stuff, and I remember I wanted this game so badly. I didn't know anything about Kirby, but back then I knew it catered to a 6-year-old pigeon immensely. Can you blame me? Kirby's Epic Yarn wasn't even going to be a Kirby game at first. It was initially going to feature the second protagonist, Prince Fluff, as the protagonist, and was going to be called Fluff's Epic Yarn until Goodfeel, the developers of the game, didn't feel satisfied with the project. Eventually, Nintendo stepped in and proposed the idea of including Kirby as the protagonist instead, and thus Kirby's Epic Yarn was conceived. With that said, is this game any good? Does this game still hold up for 20-year-old Pigeon? Let's find out with the Wii version of Kirby's Epic Yarn. All is well in Dreamland, until one day a mysterious figure known as Yin Yarn arrives and starts turning the people of Dreamland into yarn. It just so happens that one day Kirby was taking a nice stroll through Dreamland, but during the stroll he encounters a Metamato that just so happened to belong to Yin Yarn. Kirby proceeds to eat it, angering Yin Yarn, who proceeds to send him to Patchland, another land that's practically made entirely of arts and crafts. Once he arrives, Kirby encounters another creature shaped like him named Prince Fluff, who's being chased by a hostile yarn creature. After saving him using the powers he acquired from the Metamato, Prince Fluff exclaims to Kirby that they need to collect the magic yarn that Yin Yarn stole to tear apart Patchland as a whole. Patchland is split into 7 areas, but you'll start off in Quilty Square, a hub area that'll include a single level, a shop for purchasing furniture, which we'll get into later, and a place where you can view your entire collection of everything you've collected during your journey. After being the first level located in Patch Castle, you discover the first piece of magic yarn from an enemy, which will eventually lead to the first land of the game, Grassland, and thus the vibes for this game actually kick in. And I must say, they make me feel awfully nostalgic considering this was one of my childhood games that I remember fondly. Kirby's Epic Yarn aims to do something different with its gameplay. Since Kirby is made out of yarn and can't actually inhale anything or acquire any abilities, this time Kirby now has the ability to use a yarn whip to turn enemies into yarn balls and launch them at certain obstacles such as enemies and other destroyable things that stand in Kirby's way. Not only this, but Kirby can also turn into different yarn forms as well. These include a car, which replaces Kirby's ability to run, a weight, which acts as Kirby's ground pound, a parachute allowing Kirby to float down gracefully, a pendulum to swing across large gaps or to find more secrets, a submarine to swim through the water, and even a snake for navigating through small crevices. These don't even scratch the surface of all the other transformations in this game. As I mentioned before, Kirby can become a tank, allowing for a lot of damage to be done, but there's also other transformations as well, including becoming a dolphin, a fire engine, an off-roader, a spaceship that leads to shmup areas, a UFO, and we can't forget about the train. What I think is the worst transformation in the entire game. As sad as it is, I do firmly believe that the train is the worst ability in the game. You point the Wii remote at the screen and draw tracks. That's it. The reason I don't really like this ability is because pointing the Wii remote at the screen sometimes is finicky, and not to mention being precise with drawing tracks is impossible with my shaky hands. But if you like the train, that's fine. There's of course other transformations in the game as well, but I guess I didn't really care for them that much. Now you might be looking at this gameplay and might be wondering, what is it I'm collecting? Beads are the main currency in this game, but they're also used to unlock certain things as well, such as furniture and extra levels, which I'll dive into later. You can get beads by collecting them through levels and completing mini-games given to you in the apartment area. Furniture can be placed in your apartment and can also be used to complete certain challenges for neighbors as you expand the apartment to new floors. If you collect a certain amount of beads in a level, you're given certain medals which go toward completion, with the highest being a gold medal. That being said, if you're someone that's looking to 100% complete this game, these medals are absolutely vital for completion. After being 4 levels from each land, it'll be time for the boss of each specific land. There's a yarn dragon, a yarn phoenix that sacrifices its own young to slaughter you, a magician with the head of a pumpkin, aka the best boss design in Kirby's Epic Yarn, and also a giant squid. King Dedede and Meta Knight are also there, though since they were sucked into Yin Yarn's sock, Lord knows where that sock's been, they're now under the control of Yin Yarn, and it's up to Kirby and Prince Fluff to snap them out of that control. After each boss is said and done for, Kirby and Prince Fluff acquire another piece of magic yarn, and I kid you not, the cutscene format is the exact same each time, with Prince Fluff exclaiming that they got the magic yarn, the yarn stitching its way into the land, and then something happening. Not that I'm complaining, any cutscene is better than no cutscene since at least you know what's going on, and at least it makes the game more lively. Though what bugs me a little bit is that why does a magician made out of yarn defeat Meta Knight easily? Buddy, you're considered the strongest warrior in Dreamland and have also been the strongest warrior in the galaxy a little over 2 years ago. How can you fumble so bad? Oh, Epic Yarn is actually non-canon. Huh. Once that's said and done, Kirby and Prince Fluff make their way back to Dreamland through a magic sock that Prince Fluff had the whole time, but only with Patchland stitched back together, now it actually works. So Kirby, Prince Fluff, Meta Knight, and King Dedede make their way back to Dreamland, which has now been entirely converted into yarn. In Dreamland, we make it through various stages based off of old Kirby stages, all coupled in with remixes of old tracks as well. Once that's said and done, Yin Yarn appears to open up the door to his fight, and the final boss can begin. The final boss consists of previous bosses and various sections involving Yin Yarn using his magic to stop you. Once that's said and done, Kirby's Epic Yarn is finally fit. Nah, I'm kidding. The 2 sticks that Yin Yarn had been holding throughout the entire game are actually sentient and transform Yin Yarn into a tank form. You know what that means? Epic tank battle! Once that's done for, Yin Yarn is defeated, Dreamland along with Kirby turn back to normal, and Prince Fluff returns to Patchland, ending off Kirby's Epic Yarn. Huh. Taking a look back at this game, it's definitely not as good as I remember. This doesn't mean I hate the game, no, far from it, I still like it, but by the second half I was just begging for the game to be over. It's a visually nice game and I like the difficulty level, but by Futureland, I was absolutely thinking to myself, God, please let it be over. But honestly, that just might be a me thing. I get a little impatient with games sometimes, and Kirby's Epic Yarn was no exception, especially for how slow it gets sometimes. Sure, there are fast moments in the game, but for the slow bits, they go on for a while. For example, the train transformation introduced in Toy Tracks goes so slowly, but if you get a speed power, then that makes it go slightly faster. Not really a big difference, but enough. I guess the disadvantage of having different vibes from a Kirby game is that the game goes at a slower pace. My assumption is that if it wasn't a Kirby game, which it would have not been a Kirby game, it wouldn't have done well. Oh yeah, there's 14 bonus levels I should have mentioned before. I won't be playing them all because I've already exhausted myself from the game, but I can tell you that getting enough beads during a boss stage allows you to access 2 additional levels in the world. They're not required to beat the game, but like I said before, they do go toward 100%ing the game. Overall, it's an alright Kirby game. It definitely has its strengths and weaknesses, but all around, it's just okay. It's not my favorite overall Kirby game. That award goes to Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube, but overall, it's a nice and soothing departure from the other Kirby games we've gotten in the past. Whereas opposed to Kirby fighting universe level threats, he's now fighting a yarn sorcerer who just wants to fuck with Dreamland, and overall, I think that's a damn funny concept. Yeah, I didn't really think this through. I don't have an ending for this review either. Wait, I just realized there's a 3DS version of this game too. God damn it. Okay, I'll briefly go over the 3DS version as well. I haven't actually played it, but I might as well talk about it. Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn was released in March of 2019 as the last 3DS game produced or published by Nintendo. There's a few differences. You now have sub-games to play, you have a more difficult mode known as Devilish Mode, and new Ravel abilities as well. But like I said, I've never actually played the 3DS version of the game, so I can't give my opinion on it. But from what I can tell, the game tries to make changes and improvements to the Wii version of the game. And yeah, that's really all I can say on the 3DS version of the game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can go home now. Oh, you're not gonna go home? Okay, well, I have to entertain you somehow, so... Here's my impression of Wario. Why, it's me, Wario, wah! Can you leave now? Hey guys, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. And be sure to check out my recently opened Patreon to have the chance for your names to be featured in the credits of my videos and other extra goodies as well. See you next time. Okay, bye bye.